Good evening. This is November 21st, the November business meeting for the Rochester Board of Education. I am Cynthia Elliott, President of the Board of Education, and we will get started with an act of reverence of pledge allegiance to the flag. Can I get someone to volunteer? Commissioner Malloy, would you volunteer to, pledge allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next order of business is upcoming events by the Board of Education. I'm going to turn it over to Rahima Nguyen.
Thank you, President Elliott. Good evening, President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, commissioners, families, students, communities, and administration. The board will begin their December meeting month with a policy and audit committee meeting being held on Tuesday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. The following week, we will convene the ESA committee, followed by the special meeting for consideration of resolutions on December 10th, also at 6 p.m. The board will host a work session on Tuesday, December 17th at 6 p.m., and they will conclude the month with the business meeting on Thursday, December 19th at 6:30 p.m. Any individual who wishes to speak may contact the Board of Education by noon on the day of the meeting by calling us at 262-8525 or emailing boardofelucation@rcsdk12.org. No unregistered speakers may address the board, and no individual may speak on behalf of a registered speaker. Please note that when you call to register, you need to include the following, which would be your full name, telephone number, address, affiliation, and the topic on which you wish to speak. Individuals who do not reside in the city of Rochester do not have the privilege of speaking at meetings, except when an exception is granted by the chair of the meeting at which they are requesting to speak. As a final note, each registered speaker may address the board for up to 3 minutes. Speakers utilizing translation, including American Sign Language, may address the board for up to 6 minutes, three of the minutes for the speaker, and the balance for the translation. Any individual who is wishing to become a board committee rep, a parent or student, may do so and find additional information at rcsdk12.org/BOE rep. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. The next order of business is I have no minutes for approval at this time, and so the next item for discussion is our speakers list. The first speaker is Lori Thomas. Ms. Thomas?
Ms. Thomas, you'll have 3 minutes to address the board.
That's okay. Thank you. Good evening. I'm here tonight to tell you what you already know. This district is run by the Teachers Union, a union whose sole purpose is to obtain the best possible contract for their members, the teachers. At a recent Planning Commission meeting, the district submitted plans to replace part of Verona Street Park with a parking lot for the teachers at School 5, as per union contract. The plans were approved so as not to upset the union. A school board, in comparison, is supposed to negotiate in good faith on behalf of its constituents, the voting public, and their children. And while the union is doing their job, you are not doing yours. Since the main financial support of the district comes from the state, you are required to teach the state curriculum, even though you know that that curriculum is failing our students. Rochester's children are committing crimes during school hours instead of being miseducated in the classroom. I recently attended School 33's report to the community. This school is in receivership and has a 68% chronic absentee rate. Their solution? To increase the student body from 900 to 1,200. I know that this board is intelligent enough to see the problem with that logic. For years, I have fought your deficit spending model of miseducating our children. When I retired, I wanted to be through with all of this. However, God has always other plans for me. I will continue to fight for the right of our children to an excellent education, placing our district at the top of the list of successful districts. I will work to organize a united voice in demanding our children receive the best education possible to prepare them for a successful life as gifted and talented adults working towards success in their personal and social life. With united voice, we will demand that our children receive a diverse and engaging curriculum that guides them towards discovering their gifts and talents, making them proud of their accomplishments and of themselves. In a united voice, we will demand that the district adopt a financial attitude of success by awarding the highest achieving schools the best financial opportunity to continue and replicate their program in underperforming schools. Finally, the busing of our students out of their neighborhoods must be replaced by busing our children to educational opportunities outside of the classroom. The RMSC, Ganondigan, Genesee Country Museum, Strong Museum of Play, so many others. Our children should have complete and free access to all of these educational opportunities and any others without question. These demands are non-negotiable. So it is time that this board does its job to make sure that any contract signed with the union be guided by these demands and not the wishes of the teachers union or the state curriculum. Thank you. Neighbors Unite, 585.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. The next speaker is Josh Mack. Dr. Mack?
I thought I had a whole list of speakers in front of me, but thank you. It's only us. Good evening, School Board Commissioner, Superintendent, distinguished board members, and State Monitor. Okay, there were some questions about the board governance that I wanted to address and the governance model that we currently have and how we got there. It's good to know a little bit of the history. And so I'm just going to get right into it. Several years ago, while I was serving in some different capacities, one being the president of Greater Rochester NAACP, I participated in multiple investigations into corruption and educational malpractice, collaborating with various governmental agencies such as the New York State Attorney General's, the Comptroller, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. These investigations revealed instances of fraud, waste, and abuse by individuals in various administrative roles within the Rochester City School District, including the Office of Finance and also the Superintendent's Office, previous administrations, of course. These acts encompass financial fraud, theft, and abuse of authority facilitated due to a lack of oversight mechanisms. Due to these investigations, one federal agent also stated that these kind of acts don't happen in other districts, and he would not have believed them if he hadn't seen them for himself. So although these investigations ultimately benefit the district by exposing areas of reform, they also highlighted weaknesses in the school board's governance model, which was not fully equipped to deal with that level of scrutiny. In response to the school board adopted a new governance structure that included some oversights within these committees designed to address these issues internally and prevent public embarrassment. This reform led to the creation of the Office of the Auditor General, which under the leadership of Vanessa Henry Willer today, and the implementation of a whistleblowers policy, 9645. This policy allows individuals to report concerns at district leaderships without fear of retaliation, with the expectation that such issues will be promptly addressed within the district. And there was also a hotline that the people could use to call in to share their concerns. So despite the district's leadership over the years, the changes in the leadership, I have consistently adhered to these guidelines as they were originally intended, and they have proven successful under previous administrations. So as the district considers the new governance models, I strongly urge you to maintain the continued implementation of some of these oversights, such as financial audit, policy committee, and whatever committees that were implemented that take on these roles. Failure to uphold some of these procedures could heighten the risk of recurring fraud, theft, and abuse, thereby limiting the district's capacity to have proactive intervention. I thank you for recognizing the critical importance of these governance measures as you strive to uphold the district's integrity and accountability. Thank you. And I want some copies here for you.
Thank you, Dr. Mack. I'm going to just pause for a minute. We see a number of people who are in our audience. Are you all students? Are you from a school? You want to tell us a little bit, have someone to stand up and tell us what school you're from, what class that you're taking that will bring you to the Rochester Board of Education? Hi. You can come up to the podium. This is sort of out of order, but I just wanted to welcome you and not ignore you.
Hello, we're from Aquinas, taking participation in government and AP Gov.
All right, well, welcome. We appreciate having you here. Our board meetings tend to be a little lively, so you'll have a lot to write, but welcome to the Rochester Board of Education. Thank you for coming.
I think he deserves some extra credit.
Just saying. For the teacher.
Thank you. So we'll go down to the advisory council reports, and the first advisory council report is from our Student Advisory Council representative. Ms. Hazel, would you like to give your report?
I think I
We'd
got
make
it.
sure the mic is on for.
I got it. Okay.
And I just want to say for our Aquinas students, we have a student representative that is on, as an advisory person who's on our board. So just want you to recognize that. Maybe she can have a conversation with you after she reports. All right, Hazel.
All right. Good evening, everyone. The Student Leadership Congress held its monthly meeting on November 13th, 2024. Students from Edison, Wilson, and Early College were in attendance. Over the past couple of years, the SLC has spent a considerable amount of time discussing and collecting information for all the respected high schools to establish and cement their student governments. In this aspect, we've been very successful this school year, and I'm very proud of that. Every high school has established a student government that is now up and functioning. I look forward to hearing and seeing all the improvements made throughout our high schools due to student voices. The holiday season is here and Thanksgiving is next week. As a holiday project, the SLC will be going on a literacy tour. We're hoping to accomplish this either Monday or Tuesday right before we go on break. Seniors, parents, guardians, and community partners, I have an announcement. The Rochester Education Foundation, REF, came to our SLC meeting on September 25th to discuss FAFSA and student ambassador opportunities. Since then, they have made their way throughout the high schools to help students create their federal student ID. And once the FAFSA opens, they'll go back around all the high schools again to help students and parents fill it out. To conclude, the Student Leadership Congress November meeting was light, yet very productive. Our next meeting will be December 11th, 2024. It's our last meeting before welcoming the new year. I hope to see many faces there. Thank you, everyone, for their time.
Thank you, Hazel. Appreciate the report. The next item on the agenda is the Parent Leadership Advisory Council report. Is there someone to report in person or online?
No, Ms. Kapoor is online.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kapoor?
Here she is.
Yes, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. I'm here. Sorry, I kind of lost it there for a second.
I think she's going to be not so long. Can we come back to you, Ms. Kapoor?
Yes, please.
All right. The next person on the advisory council to report, we don't have a bilingual education?
We
Okay.
do not.
All right, and so then the next report is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council report.
Ms. Catherine Baruth is online to provide that
Right.
report.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Elliott, Commissioners, Acting Superintendent Strickland, students from Aquinas, and other distinguished guests. My name is Catherine Baroth, and I have one scholar in the RCSD. He's my Y for my involvement in CPAC. He's a junior at School 58. I also have one RCSD graduate. The Special Education Parent Advisory Council, or CPAC, held their monthly meeting on Monday, November 18th via Microsoft Teams. We had approximately 28 people in attendance. This month's meeting featured a presentation from the Special Education Department on the proposed continuum of services for the 2025-2026 school year. CPAC appreciates the department's participation in our meetings, and this presentation was very informative. We look forward to their publishing the continuum on the district's website so that parents can easily see which programs are at which schools in each zone. This information has not been easily accessible to parents in the last several years, and we are looking forward to that change. Parents need to clearly understand their options. Issues raised at our meeting included some facilities concerns, For example, adult-sized sinks in classrooms for kindergartners who could not reach them. And there were also some issues with hardship transfers that were being denied. We continued to work closely with the special education department and placement to help address the issues that parents are experiencing, and we appreciate their partnership. We continue to meet with OPE and the other parent group leaders monthly to problem solve in our event planning and parent engagement efforts. Next month, we will be giving a short presentation to the monthly meeting of parent liaisons and homeschool assistants so that they can better understand our group and what we do. Finally, we would like to openly ask parents who want a more active role in the district-wide parent groups, and CPAC in particular, to please reach out to us. CPAC is primarily run currently by 2 parents, and our children are aging out and graduating soon. If you are interested, please come to our next CPAC meeting on December 9th at 6 p.m. on Microsoft Teams. If you are not already on our mailing list, please email rcsdsepac@gmail.com and we'll add you. Thank you. For any other questions, please reach out to rcsdsepac@gmail.com.
Thank you very much. We're going to go back to the Parent Leadership Advisory Council report. Ms. Kapoor, can you report now?
Yes. Yes, sorry, apologize for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Janice. I'm a member of the Parent Leadership Advisory Council. I have 2 remaining scholars in RCSD. I'm involved with the parent group at School Number 45 as well. Black had its quarterly general membership meeting last night via Teams. There were approximately 15 people in attendance. Several items of note came up during our meeting. OPE gave us an update regarding their upcoming events. We appreciate the time and support. CPAC and BEC both spoke to the parents about their parent groups, as well as updated our families on upcoming meetings and events. We continue to appreciate working together to amplify the parent voice. If you are a parent and would like to know more about BEC or CPAC, please reach out to BEC at rcsdk12.org and CPAC at rcsdsepac@gmail.com. We welcome all interested parents. During our report regarding the process of updating the Code of Conduct, questions were raised as to whose responsibility it is to ensure that parents know about and understand the Code of Conduct. Many parents do not receive notice of any kind of school events covering this important document. SLAC has found that many parents do not know it exists. Furthermore, parents indicated that the Code of Conduct is not implemented in a consistent manner between buildings. The district should be working to ensure accountability on both items. This meeting was also an opportunity for parents to check in 3 months into the school year. Questions were raised regarding inappropriate academic promotions, whose responsibility it is to indicate when a child should repeat a school year. The parent, the teachers. Parents need to have both understanding as to what their child should know at the given grade level. Teachers need to speak with parents if they are concerned that a child will be adversely affected if they are promoted to the next grade when they are not ready. Finally, there was a good deal of concern regarding the end of East EPO at the end of this school year. Parents at East have not yet heard from that building's administration or the district as to how this transition is going to occur, and it is causing a great deal of anxiety. What does this mean for students? Will staff be laid off? What programs are going to be discontinued? Families need answers to that so that they can plan ahead. Furthermore, families considering sending their children to East need to fully understand what the school will look like next year with the upcoming changes the board voted on. Once again, the district is not communicating with families. even if it is only to send out a notice informing parents when they are expected to hear something, some information, some form of information is warranted immediately. This is going to be a significant change, and this lack of communication is unacceptable. Parents are your partners. We should be at the decision-making table, working with you regarding what is best for our mutual interest, the education of our students. When parents are left out, they leave. SLAC next general meeting is virtual. It will be held March 3rd via Teams at 6 p.m. We also have the Winter Wonderland coming up on December 7th from 10 to 12 p.m. You can follow us at plac@rcsdk12.org. We'll have all the information there. Or if you want to send us an email, we encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate all of our parent reports. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment, promotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of particular persons and pending or current litigation with general counsel. Is there a motion? Moved by Commissioner Simmons, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, so we will go into executive session, and then we'll come back out to reconvene the meeting. Thank you. All right, thank you for your patience. We adjourned the executive session. We're back into the regular business meeting, so we'll continue with the agenda. The next item on the agenda is board reports. We have no audit report, and so I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Simmons for the Excellence in Student Achievement Committee report. Commissioner Simmons?
Thank you, President Elliott. The Equity and Student Achievement Committee met as a committee of the whole on November 12th, and that report is available via board docs, and also you can watch the actual committee meeting live streamed via Facebook.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. The next committee report is the Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee report, and our chairperson, Commissioner Santiago, will give that report.
Thank you, President Elliott. The CIGR committee meeting happened as a committee of the whole on Tuesday, November 5th. The board reviewed and accepted the minutes from September 3rd, 2024. Jennifer Pyle, Executive Director of the Conference of the Big Five, joined the board to discuss legislative priorities. Executive Board Clerk Nguyen provided a brief update on the logistics for the legislative breakfast. The meeting concluded with the consideration of tabled resolution 313A. During the October 28th work session, the board agreed to sunset the CIGR committee, and it will no longer be convened. However, we still need to finalize the final legislative priorities. I am requesting that this will be added as a discussion item for our next special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. The next report is the Finance Committee report by Chairperson and Vice President Beatrice LeBron.
Good evening, yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. The Finance Committee did not convene this month, therefore, I'm going to be inviting our Acting Chief Financial Officer, Derek Blair, up to present the November 2024 financial report for you all. And before he gets started, I just want to announce that my daughter had surgery today, and I just got the call, so I'm going to be leaving the board meeting to go pick her up. And then I just want to put it out there that because of this surgery and the type of surgery it is, I now have 4 young kids in my home, and so I will be taking a physical leave after tonight's meeting, but I will still be participating via Teams while she heals and gets better, and I just wanted to put that on record. I have also indicated and informed the superintendent, our legal counsel, some of my board colleagues, member and the board president, happy to submit documentation, but just wanted to put it on record and to the state monitor. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice President LeBon, President Elliott, commissioners, and viewing public. I've attached the financial reports for October for your review. I'm going to go through this real briefly. Section A, the cash flow balance, general ledger summary projection are on pages 6 through 8. Our current cash position right now is $265 million. Our revenue summary, section B, is on pages 9 through 10. There were no changes to general fund or school food service fund revenue projections. There was an increase of $673,000 for some special aid revenue. Those grants are listed in the documents. Section C, appropriations by function, are on pages 11 through 14. Currently, we have $531 million available on appropriations. That's 57%. We have $80 million available in special aid grants fund appropriations available, or 61%. Currently have $14 million available in food service fund appropriations. That is 55%. I'm going to skip over the SRSA and ARP section. There's only $21 million remaining revenue to be received. And And Section E lists all of our budget journal entries. Those are on pages 17 through 29. You can review those at your leisure. Section F, our capital fund budget status reports are on pages 30 through 37. Right now, there's a remaining project balance of $34 million in cash capital, with the current month spend change of $12,615,000. There's only a major change in activity for October was a $10.6 million requisition for the Oracle ERP implementation. Charter school enrollment is on page 38. I do see that there was 596 student increase in charter school enrollment. Section I shows Oracle software transition summary for October. Currently, finance, the EPM, and ERP sections only have a total of 13 defects that we're working on. I've also included our initial revenue forecast. That's the next sheet. The next actual attachment. Currently, a projected revenue for general fund is only estimated to increase about 1% for next year. This is problematic due to our expenses are estimated to be at least 4% more for our next fiscal year budget. But I've listed out our projected revenue. This is just an estimate. We are going to be getting new numbers in December, and we will revise these once we have that information. But our grand total for projected revenue is $1,074,290,000. And that concludes the financial report for October.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
Yes, there is. So I'm going to call Commissioner Malloy, who has the first question, and then I'll go to President Elliott, and then I have one too. So, Commissioner Malloy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Blair, for your report. Very thorough. I just have a quick question regarding one of the bullets under the major general fund revenue changes. And obviously, this probably can't be answered tonight, but I would like to put it on the question log. In terms of the self-insurance recoveries and classification of prescription rebates as revenues, rather than netting those amounts against prescription drug costs, I'm a social studies teacher. I don't understand this. So I would love to have more clarification around how that is a revenue at some point. Obviously, does not have to be answered tonight. I am concerned about the expected minimum 11% increase in our healthcare costs. I know that's everywhere that we're seeing this increase. I would like to know also what amount of money we're talking about with an 11% increase. So thank you for that. I don't know if that can be answered this evening, but I would like to put that on the question log.
Don't know if I can answer that currently, but I can get back to you with that information.
Thank you so much.
President Elliott.
Thank you, Vice President LeBron. I just wanted to highlight the fact that the district expended its Cursor and ARP funding that we only had available in the Cursor funding that we did not spend $219. And so just want to congratulate the staff on, appropriating that money judiciously and ensuring that everyone who needed services, however they were, that received the services, received the different, again, additional services that students and families needed, and that, we utilize this funding appropriately. So I just want to point that out. I think we may be one of the few districts or other organizations that spend it almost to the penny. And so just want to point that out and congratulate the district on being such good stewards of the funding for the federal government. Thank you all so very much for that. Thank you.
And then I just want to thank you, Derek, for even putting projections in now with a lot of uncertainties. I think it gives us a good starting point of understanding that if it's going to be at 1%, obviously our expenses going up 4%, we're going to have to make cuts. That's just the reality, and I just want to put that out there. I do want to also uplift that there has been conversations between myself and the superintendent, and I know he's, at this point, probably had some conversations with you about us looking at our dependency on federal dollars and what that potentially will look like for next year in our budget. And I know right now, this school year, I know that we're good this school year. We're good for this school year. The question, even in our budgeting process, is going to be what the future looks like. And a 1% projection, I think it makes me extremely nervous because I know that even by contracts alone, everyone gets a raise. And so these are the pieces. And then because of tariffs, right, we are not going to be in a bubble or exempt from what's happening at the federal and national level. And so the tariffs at our level, even the cost of food going up for us and food services, the cost for us to get our goods and products, all of those things are going to have a ripple effect in every area of our budget. So it's not just that our projections right now are 1% and our expenses are 4% at minimum. It's all of these expenses, and I have a lot of grave concerns. I will not dump them all tonight, and President Elliott is aware that we'll have some additional conversations. But especially as the chair of finance, I do not want to give the public, parents, or even our community the impression that because we have a healthy fund balance today, and thank God that we do, because we'll be able to minimize some of these things as we move forward. But the reality is that there are going to have to be some really hard decisions that this board is going to have to make for this budget year coming up, and that we ourselves are not fully aware of the full impact as of yet. And we all need to be sort of open, alert, and brace ourselves for those things. But I just want the community to know that we're aware. I don't want to pretend that it's not there. We see the big elephant. We're trying to figure out how to eat this big elephant and where we
One
need
bite
to
at a
tackle
time.
first. But thank you for that, because I think it starts this conversation right before budget season begins and this sort of crossroads that we're going to be in. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, if there are no further questions, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion by President Elliott to move the unaudited report, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. There's no, going on to the reports, there's no HR committee report, no policy committee report. My report is online, but I also wanted to highlight that a number of us were at the Big Five Conference, and the Big Five Conference is the largest urban school districts, which includes Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, Yonkers, Albany, and we also have affiliates with, did I say Syracuse? Syracuse, we have affiliates with Utica and maybe in Albany. All of those school districts represent more than 50% of the students within the district. And so we were there this weekend, had an opportunity to hear Chancellor Lester Young, who talked about that the ideal, I will say, staff and teacher should be able to prepare our students to successfully meet the next level of success for where they're going, right? And so I asked them the question, and so what they're trying to do is determine how that's done. But I asked the question, shouldn't the certification accommodate that? And I've always been one to believe that just because you're certified doesn't mean that you're qualified. So I was excited to hear that he talked about that they may not have had it right, essentially is what they were saying, that it has to be relooked at. And so It was great to hear him. He's talking about coming to Rochester and Buffalo soon, and we'll be happy to have him here. And we also heard from Dr. Betty Rosa, who's the commissioner, who talked about that we can't really go back to the old days of how we used to educate our students. We have to look at what the future is holding in terms of careers and college readiness, and how we need, New York State has to prepare its students for what it means to work in the future. So that sums it up. Also, we met with the Council of Great City Schools in terms of school governance. That program is to enable this school board to go through training for about 2 years. And then we're also undergoing the superintendent search, which we're doing right now. You're here from our firm tonight, who will present the leadership profile. And that concludes my report. Let me just also point out who was there for, going back to the council, the Big Five Conference. Commissioner Griffin, who's not here, was there. Superintendent Strickland, Deputy Superintendent Administration Ruth Turner, and am I missing it? State Monitor Jaime Alicea. And I think that's it. So we all were down there listening to. Oh, and Derek was also, our Chief Interim Finance Officer was there as well. Let me just also mention, but I couldn't stay in the room because I had some vulnerability in my own life. We had a person who spoke to us who lost his son from the Parkland shootings. And that was a little difficult for me to participate in because I had just lost an uncle, and then another uncle who had just had a stroke during that same time. They were both brothers. The other piece is that I've had a nephew who was killed through gun violence, but he talked, and he was there about 4 hours talking about the whole process of how in schools like Parkland, how they had none of the safety networks in place to be able to prevent that from happening. And so he is on a journey to inform other school districts and law enforcement agents about, how to protect students from someone who's coming in there and causing gun violence and causing death. So also heard some of him. I didn't get a chance to hear him all. So, and that concludes my report, and we'll go down now to superintendent's reports. Start off with Interim Superintendent Strickland, your presentation, Superintendent.
Yes. Great evening, President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, fellow board commissioners, students, staff, and our greater Rochester community. I bring to you my report for November 21st, 2024. So first and foremost, one of the things that I am committing to this year is to consistently and constantly give updates around chronic absenteeism and average daily attendance, as it is extremely important for the community to actually know what is happening in terms of student attendance in our schools. And I want to start off by reading the definition as it being defined as missing 10% of school days within one academic year for any reason. This includes excused absences and unexcused absences. Something that I would like to note that I want to correct from last month was that we inadvertently counted suspensions and long-term medical leaves in those chronic absenteeism numbers, and those should not have been there. Suspensions are not considered absences because suspended students, even short-term students, they must receive alternative instruction. And a student that is not present in school for an extended period of time for a medical reason would need a doctor's note and would then be assigned to our home hospital tutoring program so that they can continue to get their learning, their education. So I did want to, on the record, go and correct that information that was presented last month. Looking at our chronic absenteeism for 24-25, so now this data is as of November 18th, 2024. We see that the lowest rates for chronic absenteeism are School of the Arts, 25.8% of their student population, or 272 students are chronically absent. We have school number 15 at 27.4%, or 106 of their students are chronically absent at this point, and school number 23, 28.4%, or 89% of those students are in fact chronically absent as of November 18th. For our highest rates, we have Padilla High School at 83.1%, or 1,064 students. As of now, Monroe High School, 72.5%, or 583 students, and then Edison Career and Technology High School at 67.7%, or 785 students. So now, remember, these numbers are a moving target. As of right now, if students have been chronically absent less than 50, if they have been absent more than 5 days of the school year, they are accounted for in these numbers. As the school year goes on, the number for chronic absenteeism increases, and therefore some of those students hopefully will come off. But one of the things that I want to be diligent in is letting parents know how important it is to make sure that our students are in school each and every single day, and I am going to continuously keep you aware of where we are as a district. Average daily attendance, that definition is the percentage of students enrolled in schools who attend on any given day. And it's basically calculated by dividing the number of students who attend school on a given day by the number of students who are actively enrolled. For our average daily attendance, we have School of the Arts at 92.1%, school number 15, 91.3%, school number 23 at 91.3%, and school number 46 at 91.3%. In terms of schools that have lowest rates, that would be Padilla High School at 56.5%, Monroe High School at 69.6%, Edison Career and Technology High School at 71.8%, and Wilson Commencement at 73.7%. And again, this is the amount of students on average that are coming to school each and every single day. There is not an exact number that you can put towards those percentages. This is a reminder to parents that report cards are being sent home with students this week. For students in grades K through 6, report cards will be distributed at school and will be sent home with your child, typically in their backpack. For students in grades 7 through 12, report cards will be mailed directly to families. If you have not already done so, now is a great time to sign up for Power School Parent Portal. Through the portal, you can access important information about your child's grades, attendance, and schedules, all through your computer or mobile device in real time. Signing up for Power School Parent Portal helps you stay connected and informed about your child's progress. For more information, visit our website at www.rcsdk12.org/parentportal. School selection for the 25-26 school year will begin Friday, December 6th. This is for families with incoming kindergarten students, including students currently attending an RCSD program or receiving special education support. It is also for students entering 7th and 9th grades in middle and high school. Before completing the application, families should determine which school zone they live in, as this will guide their choices. In addition to zoned schools, there are citywide options open to all families. Families can rank their top school choices and apply online through the Power School Parent Portal. It is important to note that students who do not participate in the school selection process will be placed in the school closest to their home where space is available. We do have school counselors available and parent liaisons and homeschool assistants in our schools that can help support you in this process. So parents, please just be aware that the school selection process is about to open up. To help our pre-K families learn more about kindergarten registration, we will be hosting a Stepping Into Kindergarten event on Saturday, December 7th at East High School. This is the perfect opportunity for families to get information and learn more about the schools in their zone. If you can't make the event, don't worry. Starting December 6th, families can register their child for kindergarten online or at central office Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 3:30 p.m., or take advantage of extended Saturday hours on January 11th and February 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. November is National Family Literacy Month, a time to highlight the importance of families reading to their children or with their children. When families read together, it strengthens bonds and creates lasting memories while helping children develop key literacy skills. In the RCSD, we offer Amira, a K-5 digital reading assistant that listens to your child read aloud and provides personalized interventions to help improve their fluency and comprehension. This month, we have been asking our librarians on social media to share the books that inspire them and why. By supporting both family reading and personalized learning tools, we help create a foundation for lifelong literacy. And I just wanted to take the time to give a shout out to school number 42 who asked me to read at night. I read one of those books. It was great to see parents online with their children reading that book with me. I'm just so excited about literacy, and I just, again, give parents those shout outs for getting their children online and partaking in that event. And kudos to Principal Dr. Washington and Assistant Principal Vaughn Collins. This fall, several teams in our district made impressive runs in sectionals. East High School's football team made it to the quarterfinals of sectionals. I must say East High School World of Inquiry, while Monroe's football team advanced to the semifinals. World of Inquiry's boys soccer team also reached the sectional semifinals, demonstrating their skill and resilience. World of Inquiry's girls volleyball team earned a #1 seed, but was upset by Penyan. The World of Inquiry's boys volleyball team was the #3 seed and advanced to the semifinal, and Soda's boys volleyball team made it all the way to a sectional final. The first time that this has happened in the school's history.
Just wanted to.
Seven of our cross-country athletes ran at sectionals this year, myself included. I also want to wish good luck to Natalia Sierra Wardlaw from our RCSD United Swim Team, who will be competing in the New York State Championship this weekend in Webster. Natalie is competing in the 100 backstroke tomorrow, and if she is among the top 30, she will return and swim in the finals on Saturday. The outstanding achievement of these athletes reflect their commitment and talent, and we are so incredibly proud of them. 56 students from the RCSD received special recognition from Mayor Malik Evans for their artwork displayed at City Hall at the end of the month. These talented students participated in the Mayor's for Peace competition, which aims to promote a world without nuclear weapons and foster safe, resilient communities. Rochester is one of the 8,300 cities worldwide involved in this art competition. The top 5 winners in each age group are eligible to support their artwork for consideration in an international competition in Japan. Congratulations to these students for their excellent creativity. I would like to congratulate 5 of our students who were recognized this month with Do the Right Thing awards for their exceptional acts of courage, kindness, leadership, and maturity. These students have been recognized as leaders and role models for speaking up for other students, and in one instance, where a classmate helped his sister who was pinned underneath a car. Congratulations to all these well-deserving award recipients. American Education Week is a time to honor and celebrate the incredible impact of educators, staff, and all those who contribute to shaping our students' futures. The countless ways you show up every day for our students, families, and each other do not go unnoticed. Your dedication and commitment make a profound difference in our community, and we are deeply grateful for all that you do. I am excited to highlight a remarkable achievement within our district. Gia Vallone, a dedicated sixth grade teacher at Roberto Clemente School Number 8, has been selected as a New York State Master Teacher for the 2024 cohort. She is the only teacher in the RCSD to receive this honor. This prestigious program connects over 1,400 educators statewide who are passionate about STEM education and committed to inspiring future leaders in these fields. Ms. Vallone has been with the district since 2007, having served as a data coach, a co-lead for the MTSS team, an assessment coordinator, and an intervention teacher. Congratulations, Dia, on this outstanding recognition. And with that being said, this concludes my report for the month of November.
Thank you, Superintendent Strickland. The next presentation is from Superintendent, oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Malloy, you have questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for your presentation, and congratulations to all of our students in the district for their many achievements. I think so often we hear all the negative things happening in our district, and we don't hear about the positive as much as we should. And so I'm just so proud of all of our students, whether it's the Do the Right Thing Awards, or just our teachers having successes, or our athletes having success. We have students who are doing wonderful things. I do have to make a public shout out to my daughter who was on the swim team, who barely missed making the finals as a freshman in her 2 individual events for swimming. She got 17th and 18th place, but she did not make states, but that's a goal for next year. But Natalia, certainly, we wish her all really well. She's just an amazing young lady. My real question.
Yes.
Is just regarding Amira, the K-5 reading assistant. I'd really love to know more about this at some point in the future, and maybe at an ESA meeting or whatnot, just see how that operates and how it assists students in performing better. So, thank you.
We most certainly can make that happen.
Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Simmons?
Yes, thank you. To echo Commissioner Malloy's sentiments, I too I'm very pleased and happy again to see us lifting the positive narrative, because it does indeed exist when we're laser focused on so much negativity. That's what folks tend to breed off of, and so there are positive things that are happening, and highlighting them is very important. Not to ignore things that need to be addressed, but highlighting the good is certainly wonderful. Also, the Amira, I'm intrigued by that instrument. I love it. I'm excited that our students do have that, and we know that Amira does not replace the presence of mom, dad, or caregiver being present and reading to your child. So although it is a tool, it is not the only way, and so I was happy to hear that parents joined in on the virtual read along, and literacy is my love. I do have a question for clarity or statement. I don't know. It's more of a question, I guess. So when we talked about the chronic absenteeism, I love that you did set that on as part of your presentation, because it is important, chronic absenteeism throughout our district, but also important to make sure that our community is educated on what that really means. So thank you for providing the definition. If I understood that right, with it being 10% of the total school days, if we just took the school year as a whole, let's say 180 days are in the school year, 10% of that is a child missing 18.
Correct.
So the reason, and not that that's okay, you don't want a child missing any school if they can avoid it, but recognizing that there are nuances, excused absences, unexcused absences, of course, but it's 18 days. And so some of the data, when it comes out, if it is not understood properly, people can intentionally or unintentionally message a false narrative into how our children are truly doing, and that makes it even more difficult. So just making sure the community does have the facts and understanding of what chronic absenteeism truly looks like, but more importantly, what we're doing to address it. So thank you for that.
So I'd like to just piggyback on what Commissioner Simmons said, because we tend to, the media tends to portray it as if it's a negative. But it could also be that our children are sick. You know, they've got the flu. Some of our students, they go back home to Puerto Rico. And so I don't want the narrative to be that our kids are just out because they're out. There tend to be more than likely issues, serious issues of why our students are out. And so let it not be the narrative that our students are out just because they're out. You know, as I said, health issues. Could be, you know, they got a medical appointment or something is going on. Some family trauma may be going on. So just to say that they're absent, just to be absent without there being some reason to that can be misleading. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
President Elliott? If I could just say really
Yeah.
quickly, we'll be touching on that at the next ESA meeting. You'll hear that unpacked
Right.
for the public hearing. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, I just want to very quickly say congratulations to every student and teacher, and the teacher who's been recognized by New York State on their accomplishments. And then I also want to, and it's good to hear that this will be covered in the ESA meeting, but very quickly touch on the chronic absenteeism, you know, of the issue that we have here. Of around 52% of our students with chronic absenteeism in just this school year alone, with the expectation, you know, that it will rise in the next few months. But the truth is, to an extent, although part of it is you know, sickness and different issues that may be, there's some accountability that we have to take as a district, that some of these students aren't coming to school because of specific reasons that haven't been addressed to the best ability that it could be addressed to. And so I just wonder, you know, with this data, and hopefully when it's presented in front of ESA, you know, a plan on how to tackle this issue. And I know that there's a lot of issues. Some students may not be coming to school for different reasons. It could be the culture of the school. It could be some of their peers. But what's important about that is really being able to work on these young people one at a time. Because if you look at Padilla High School, in which I don't want to focus on too much of the issue but the plan forward, but we do have to see the context that we're in now. You know, 83% with chronic absenteeism and 50% on a daily basis of average daily attendance. That's a problem that we have to be able to look at. And it's more than just sickness. It's more than just there's something going on in that location that's being unmet in the way that it should be met. So I just wonder, when we get this presentation, the ESA and you know, in committees, that if we can have a plan behind it on how to address the issues, because there's something there that we have to take accountability on our end and fix.
Yes, that definitely will be uncovered. We just will be covered in the ESA meeting. We did have a ESA preview meeting today. I do want to make mention that, again, I've been in my previous seat, I've been sitting, taking notes, hearing what it is that is very important that our families, our community need to know. And chronic absenteeism is one of them. And those are something that needs to be talked about, highlighted. I did want to make mention that even if your absence is excused, it's still an absence. It's just excused. So even if you decide to make a doctor's appointment during the school day and you don't bring your child back to school, you go home for the rest of the day, that is an actual absence. We definitely need the community to be aware of this, and we need to honestly take some action as a whole. It can't just be the district. It has to be the district. It has to be the home. It has to be the community. It has to be everyone because, like you said, to your point, some students are not coming to school, and it could be because of their neighborhoods. It could be because of transportation. There's a host of or a myriad of issues that go into that chronic absenteeism number, and my responsibility is to highlight it and really think about and execute a plan for decreasing this number.
Mr. Satya.
And if I can just very quickly touch on many times a factor, and I graduated the district 2 years ago, and so I understand what this looks like on the student level. And when you look at our different rankings, you'll see at a school like School of the Arts, where there's 92% of students attending, a lot of times that's because we're focused on the child, that school is focused on the child's talent, on the child's passion, their superpower, their genius. And what happens a lot of times in some of these schools that get lost is that we have students learning or expected to learn in a system or in a classroom or in a box that covers their potential and their passions and their talents, and we don't tap into that as much. And I would love to see on a entire district level, how are we working with these young people to learn in a place where they're open to think, where they're open to be creative, where they're open to show what they're learning in the ways that's best for them and the creative ways that they can express themselves. And a lot of times what we do in these systems is we try to put them in a box. And what the young people are saying when I look at this attendance is that we're not going to be coming to a place where I feel like I'm in a box. And that's just a reality. And I'm not saying that that's just this district. This is a systematic issue all along. But we have to be able to really tap into our young people's superpower and their talents and let them know that you have greatness inside of you, and we can teach you that in the classroom while you express yourself in the best way that you express yourself. And so I think even looking at these, even the percentages, you see School of the Arts with a 92% daily attendance rate and Padilla High School with a 56%. And we're not here to compare, but we also look at the culture of those schools and what those schools mean and how that can make a difference with attendance. And so what we learned inside the governance training is that I am the genesis of change. And the truth is there's a lot of things in this district and around this district that we need help on and we need partnership with. But right now, all we can focus is on us and how we can be the transformation, the genesis of transformation. There we go.
Commissioner Patterson, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm not going to be repetitive, but again, some of my colleagues have spoke relative to the chronic absenteeism and the average daily attendance, so I'm not going to be repetitive there. But this is a serious problem. Everyone out there in the community knows, and I want you to know as a commissioner, I know that if SOTA, or School of the Arts, can be doing this well, what is the difference between Padilla or Franklin as it used to be? Why is there that drastic difference? So that's what we need to do. What is the difference? What is SOTA doing right, along with school number 15, 23, and let me not forget the others, and 46. What are they doing right? How are they getting their students to come to school? And I think we should do more of an extensive study on, we should know why each kid is not coming. Let's break it down in a category. I think we should do an extensive study. Are they just ill? Are they going to doctor's appointments? Are they just skipping? Are they afraid to come to school? Are they hungry? Let's create some type of data, relative to that, so we can actually see why these kids aren't coming, and then the administration can focus on those things. But we don't have an extensive study from these kids telling us why they aren't coming to school. We're just assuming, and we shouldn't do that. We have the expertise, we have the people, so let's do a study and find out what the differences is between the schools that are doing well as far as attendance and chronic absenteeism and the ones that are not. Thank you.
Superintendent, we do have attendance department that is actually collecting that data and has been collecting that data for some years around why students are not coming to school. But to Commissioner Patterson's point, I do think, school climate, we've recognized what the variables are that impacted. I do want to be really clear on the statement I made around the 180 days in school, and that's 18 absences, and that was more around parent and community education. So not to dismiss chronic absenteeism, but understanding that I don't know if the average person, they're not thinking, they don't talk this education speak and understand seat time and the importance of being in class and missing just a few days, how that can impact your learning and education. So if I look at almost 200 days and my child was periodically absent, and it equated to 18 days, that is in fact chronic absenteeism.
Yes.
But I don't know if the average parent understands that. And so that community education around these absences here and there does need to happen, but it's not to dismiss or say that there's nothing concentrated. And we recognize that we've got to make sure students are in the right schools as well. So I'm not going to belabor the conversation, but I do want to make that clarifying point.
Commissioner Simmons. Thank you all. We'll go down to Superintendent Blocker's report. Superintendent Blocker.
Good evening, President Elliott, Commissioners, and the Rochester community. This is the report from the East EPO. I'd like to start out with some college information. We had the pleasure of Dr. Diana Williams and also her daughter, Dr. Williams, come to speak to our College 30 family group about their experiences at the HBCUs they attended, Hampton University and Lincoln University. In addition, they offered to pay the college HBCU common application fee for any student that wanted to apply. Next, our East Hispanic scholars celebrated their heritage with the entire East community. They sang, danced, read poetry, showed flag representation from each and every place an East scholar was from, and dazzled us with their pride. It was done in both Spanish and English, and simply lovely. Our football and cheerleaders celebrated senior night with their families. It was wonderful to have so many parents in attendance supporting our scholars. A huge shout out and congratulations to Youssef Abdi. He set the Section 5 extra point record. So congratulations to Youssef. We have our scholars in Mr. Morgan's class that took pictures based on specific prompts. They edited them using Photoshop and then turned them into accordion books. These accordion books are now on display at the Winton Library. Scholars have a multitude of opportunities just these first 2 months to learn about various careers, to secure internships, and to find employment. College ready is important, but life ready is essential. We are working diligently to make sure both are viable options for each and every one of our scholars. I've included in there 2 links for members of the board at your leisure to look a little more specifically at what some of the things are we're doing, and I'm going to showcase a few coming up here. We have the East High Flom Institute. This one here is, thank you. We have our Future Ready program, ACE mentorships. We have Playhouse. We have GLOW, YAMTEP, Aging Services, RTMA, Rochester Regional, the Tool Shed. These are all places kids have been to just these first few months of school. And then if you go on, our fall nursing interns, as you've heard me talk about many times, had the opportunity to shadow a surgical nurse, and in doing so observed 2 spinal surgeries. Scholars were allowed to go in pairs into the actual operating room and get a closer view of those surgeries. Following the operating experience, they learned how to take patients' vitals, calculate medicine amounts, and then received their own stethoscopes. This after-school program that you see next is designed for scholars who want to do work with RIT in the U of R, engineering students led by engineers currently working in the field. Scholars are tasked with building an electronic project while learning hands-on careers in electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and programming. In the next one, it's a group of scholars who are interested in careers in aging services. They took a field trip to the Jewish Senior Living Center. They heard from various staff members, one being a former East student who went through this program himself a few years ago and now works there. Many of the students who attended the field trip have since registered to participate in our Aging Services Career Intern Exploration Program for multiple hours this fall. East scholars attended the Monroe County Rock with Your Hands field trip, where they learned about a wide variety of hands-on careers in fields such as agriculture, manufacturing, skilled trades, and public services. Flom Eye Institute provided scholars rotations within their clinical and diagnostic eye care lab, their retail optical place, and community outreach. Activities between both Strong and their 500 South Clinton Ave locations were done. One more, please. Upper school lighthouse scholars and our student government did a bulb campaign. In just 1 month, they were able to raise over $650, money that will go back into our school to build culture and climate. Over 20 of our students dug in the dirt and planted approximately 1,000 bulbs to help beautify our campus coming this spring. I think most of the kids really enjoyed playing in the leaves and just being kids again, and it was so fun to watch that part. Next, our lower school received more of their demonstrable indicator results. They have now hit 77.7% of their DIs, and we are waiting for 3 more results to come in. Great job to our lower school staff and scholars. Then this slide here is really important to me. This is a picture of a student, a teacher at East, and then East teachers that are out celebrating them. Mr. Travis is a teacher that was at Strong. He has been valiantly battling his 2nd round of cancer. East staff have tried to show up outside his house at different times when he gets home from his days of chemotherapy to lift his spirits throughout his treatments. When he was there for an emergency last weekend, he opened his eyes and saw that an East scholar was caring for him. She looked at him and said, "Mr. Travis, is that you?" He said they both shared smiles and laughs and stories from East. But these words that he went on to say next are really critical. He sent me a text and he said, "East is everywhere, and it matters how you treat all the people you teach all of the time. You never know when the tables will turn and you will rely on them." So I just want to keep saying, keep fighting, Mr. Travis. Those words are a perfect way to end that our youth are our future. And if we don't love them and lift them up right now, we can't expect that to come back to us in the future. Then last is the data slide. As Superintendent Strickland shared, this is the East data. I'm not going to do the ones that we did before. I'm only going to update the ones that are currently updated. Out-of-school suspensions for lower school is at 3. Out-of-school suspensions for upper school is at 5. Our lower chronic absenteeism is 45%, or 191 scholars. Our upper school is 51.3, with 427 scholars. For priority goal 4A, Both East Lower and Upper is already a community school model. Only Upper School at this time has parents on governance council for 4B. We're looking to secure parents for our lower school. Our lower school daily attendance is 85.9%, and our upper school daily attendance is 82.4%. You know that I always present out on graduation. At this point, we still have the 6.7 or 15 scholars that have already graduated, and 9 out of 222 that have dropped out. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Blocker. Any questions for Superintendent Blocker? Commissioner Malloy?
No questions, but wanted to just say thank you so much for your presentation and especially for your staff member and his battle, and a very emotional quote, and we wish him well. I do want to say thank you so much for highlighting all of the great things that students are doing at East and their accomplishments, and it's something that we can all be very proud of. And I also really appreciate just the updates on just the demonstrable indicators, and it's very helpful for us as commissioners as we try to focus more and more on those student academic outcomes. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. Commissioner Simmons?
Yep, thank you for your presentation. Also, just want to send prayers and well wishes to Mr. Travis, right? Very powerful quote, but yes, definitely keep fighting, sir. I was looking at the demonstrable indicators. Congratulations, per usual, and I was also very impressed by the number of places you're making sure that students get to as far as career opportunities and exposure. And then I saw there's a second report that I'll look at as far as how the transition is going. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, encouragement to Mr. Travis as he's going through his experience. And I think what he said on you never know when you will have to rely on them or treat them right now, because in the future we'll have to rely on them. And that's important, for every teacher in this district to have that mindset, because what you're building now is what your country, what everybody's going to have to rely on in the future. And so we have to be able to make sure that we're nurturing these children to grow up into amazing adults. And so big shout out to Mr. Travis with that. And I just wanted to ask, because there was a question earlier, but just about the, update on the EPO transition, where's everything at? And wondering when information will be going out to parents and students about the transition.
Superintendent Strickland and I decided that we'll present that together, so we're going to do a few slides coming up right after this, so that we have a
Okay.
joint presentation.
Great.
So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Commissioner Patterson, you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you for your report. Again, I will echo, relative to Mr. Travis. I was away at a conference a couple weeks ago, and then during that conference, they indicated that that every teacher has to know every student individually. And when we start doing that, not saying that some aren't doing that presently, but the ones who aren't, then you'll be able to really talk to and speak to those kids one-on-one and see exactly what they are going through, what their trauma is, what they're experiencing, why they aren't coming to school, why their grades are off, and things like that. So it's very important from, what I learned just this past weekend. Not that I didn't know it before, but it kind of confirmed it, that we have to know each student where they are. That being said, I'm looking at, again, your chronic absenteeism and those reports. It looks pretty good, and so I would hope, and I know you are already, I just want the public to know that, there's a collaboration, being done at this point in time between the district and East to see exactly what's working over there. And I think that's a great thing. That's a good thing that you guys are able to talk like that and have those discussions, and what can we doing better? What can we do better to kind of, be reflective of what you're doing over there at East. So, thank you for what you're doing, and your staff. I want to also thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. And so we'll go down to the next item on the agenda, which is the East Transition update, and both superintendents will present.
Good evening, everyone. And just to echo what everyone is saying before we get started, definite sentiments to Mr. Travis. Keep fighting. You know, you got a whole district that's behind you, and we want to make sure that you come out successful, and you will come out successful. But we are going to be providing a transition update regarding East High School. This will be presented by myself and Superintendent Blocker, and here we go. So first, we just have a few transition updates. A lot of them are around staffing, teacher leaders, contracts, curriculum costs for writing, reviewing, and updating, and thinking about social and emotional learning plans with counselors and social worker ratios and character development programs. Now, just to let you know that there are quite a few things in limbo. Want to definitely present that, publicly. A lot of things do have financial ramifications, and we want to be sure that we sustain what East has been able to build, yet also begin to right size so that we can also ensure that our high schools are in an equitable space, to ensure that they all are able to get that level of success, however that may look. Next slide.
We have come to some decisions. What we're trying to do as we go through this process is look at different factors, determine what East is doing, determine what the RCSD is doing, and then offer a recommendation from the core team on what they would like to see happen moving forward at East. The one thing we agreed on is that East has a 7.5-hour day, RCSD has a 7-hour day, and the length of day at 7.5 hours should remain the same moving forward. Our daily schedule, we currently have a schedule built around 5 72-minute blocks per day. RCSD varies. Some have blocks, some have periods that range from 43 to 48 minutes. We believe it's critical that we keep our 72-minute blocks. We have spent 10 years writing curriculum and basing it on that block schedule, and feel it would be very difficult to transition to a different time period and rewrite everything that has been done the last 10 years. Our cohort size, we know that East has to take on more students from the district as we move forward. The small school model was the intention originally. We started with 180 kids the first 5 or 6 years of the EPO. Once we felt like we had things established, we moved that up to 200 per cohort, and that's where we are right now. And what we would like to see happen next year is start with 250 in the 9th grade cohort and then grow up 1 year at a time so that we're not adding too many students all at once to change the culture and climate of the building and allow people to get acclimated to how we do things. And then last are the bell times. Lower school is 7:30 to 3, and upper school has been 8 to 3:30. It varies across the district. Our recommendation is that we put both schools on the same schedule so that they are both 8 to 3:30 for 6 through 12. Knowing that dismissal times with our current union contract couldn't start before 7:15 or after 4. And we're hoping by doing that, we can maximize the shared staff that we have at both buildings, that we can help support the district with the yellow busing shortage that they've had, and that our lower school and upper school kids can ride together and go home together. Those are the recommendations thus far.
And then there are current decisions that are on the table. Our SPED continuum is almost to completion. There will be some special education increases to the East High School community. That will also means that certain schools where there are high special education populations, including self-contained classes, do not have to go into schools per se, Padilla or Monroe or Edison and whatnot. So everyone will sort of get some share of some of the self-contained classrooms throughout the district. East is asking for specific bilingual offerings, and we just need to figure out how that looks. As you all know, bilingual staffing is a challenge throughout our district, and we need to really settle on how will we move forward with a model that's going to make sure or ensure success for our students. We definitely know that the East Lower School is more bilingual than not. So definite recommendations are going to need to be made for them. We are currently looking at a curriculum at East. There are going to be some RCSD teachers currently piloting some of the East curriculum to determine if it's successful for students as a whole. And we do have, I've asked for East to give me or provide a list of all the curriculum offerings for East. My teaching and learning team is providing curriculum offerings for RCSD and determining what is it that can stay, what is it that will go, or and whatnot. So it's very difficult. We have to be very, very clever with how we are going to move forward with the curriculum. Teacher leaders are currently still being decided, as well as the professional learning, even though the MOA will cover some of the professional learning that was approved earlier this year, and looking at staffing overall. One of the pushes that I had asked Superintendent Blocker and the core team was that if we increase the cohorts, then that means that the staff that may be in, I don't want to say excess, but the additional staff that they have to provide services can actually stay because they're taking on more students and they don't necessarily have to be disrupted. So with that being said, there still are many things that have to be decided and determined. Again, a lot of things do have budget implications, and that's what we have to report to you all for this month. Thank you.
Thank you, both superintendents. I'm going to start down. Commissioner Patterson, you have questions?
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to work my way backward. But you were just talking about languages. First of all, thank you both for the report. But we were talking about languages, and you said bilingual, and by that you mean Spanish, for clarification, right?
Correct. We're also have spoken with the RCSD Director of World Languages to also look into perhaps doing something with Arabic. We know that we're having a larger and larger population of those speakers at our school, so that's something else we're looking into. But currently, right now, when our kids come to the East Lower School, if they were in a bilingual program in their elementary setting, the switch is turned off because we don't have a bilingual program in the lower school. And then when they come back to high school, the switch is turned on. So we're trying to find a way, now that we know it's the largest group in our middle school, to make certain we have a seamless program for them 6 through 12.
And another thing I think that I would suggest is you look into Mandarin, internationally speaking, because if our kids are going to get into business and things like that, that is really the second language we're saying right now that we should be really picking up on. So if we could look into that, that'd be great. Let's see, the question that I did have for you.
You want me to come back to you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, just wondering what actions are being taken to stay transparent to the parents and the students there at the school. I know that their decisions are still being made, but of course you don't want to create anxiety in the transition.
Right. All of this information that's here and each agenda in our meeting minutes is online for anyone to go and see from any of the transition teams. And then each month at what we call FACE, Family and Community Engagement Meetings. We had one tonight before I came here. We update the parents on two things. A, what decisions were made, and B, what are upcoming decisions so that they can ask questions or offer input right then.
Great.
And then we also reach out based on whatever that topic may be, if it's applicable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And and we spoke about this just partially, but just to make sure the programming, when it comes to what U of R, the partnership and programming, will there be discussions about that?
Yes, that's
Okay.
on the agenda items, but it's not what we're focusing on for
No.
next month.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santiago. Commissioner Simmons?
Thank you, President Elliott, and thank you both for the presentation. And shout out to our parent from Edison High School who is still rocking with us late into the evening. We appreciate you and recognize your commitment, sir. I also, the slide that stood out to me is slide number 3, and as far as the curriculum, I totally understand and appreciate the intentionality around doing things in a way that's as least disruptive as possible, and not wanting to be changing curriculum and all of those pieces. But one that stood out to me even more so is the cohort size and the sensitivity around if the cohorts do grow out, maintaining them at the 9th grade level. That makes a lot of sense, and it makes me think about other things, other schools, and how disruptive it can be to bring in students that are not acclimated to a culture of different schools and placing them in at the 11th, 12th, or just schools. It gets crazy, and it does the schools a disservice even, and more importantly, it does the child a disservice when they're not placed with intention. So I'm hoping to see that continue, and that intentionality is really laser focused, if you will.
That was actually one of the first decisions I was able to make, saying we cannot just add to 10th, 11th, 12th grade cohorts, because that will disrupt the culture, you know what I mean? And if you do a phase in, it allows you to really provide a foundation for those 9th graders, and then they become 10th graders, and then you could take on a new set of 9th graders and do the same thing and cultivate that East High mentality into their brains, and being a part of the community so that it's not disruptive. And of course, I mean, Superintendent Blocker has been great. If there are students that are older that may be in need of a change, she does look at those students. And those things may happen as we have to look at her students as well, to bring them back into the district. But, grow in and phase out, those are very much in my vernacular
I'm
as
glad
it
to hear
pertains.
you say that, sir. I'm going to follow up with
yes.
you on some things. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Commissioner Malloy?
I'll just say thank you so much for the report and the update. I don't know, was this the first kind of official update, or with the second one? I can't remember what number we're on. Second one, maybe? I do appreciate
Yes.
receiving these updates and seeing this transition in action, and thank you for all the work you're doing on it.
I'd just like to say thank you also to Superintendent Strickland and his team. I feel like we have been working very collaboratively to try and figure out how both East and the RCSD can benefit from the skills and strengths that one another have. And it's been really nice to have a transparent and teamwork relationship. So thank you, Superintendent Strickland and your team.
One of the questions I have before I get to you, Commissioner Patterson, has to do with, I heard what the plaque representative mentioned around parent involvement. So where are we in terms of ensuring that parents are notified of the steps that the transition is going through? Because she did mention that there were parents who had not been informed about where the transition is in process.
I mean, we try to keep them informed by having everything available and transparent on the website. When we have school meetings, as I indicated, like tonight with our FACE committee, we share there. both what's been covered, but more importantly, what's coming up, so they feel that they have a voice. And it also has in the transition plan, if they ever have any questions or concerns or feedback that they'd like to share, to call East, and we'd be happy to work with them.
That may be something to work on because she did mention that in the presentation.
Parents are also involved in some of the, bringing the decisions to the core team. Want to make that very clear as well. So it's not just a siloed approach of district individuals. There are also parents on each of the tenant teams, because I know I was
I would just
interacting
recommend
with
you
one.
reach out to her because apparently there are some parents that are not involved in some way, and I don't know what that looks like.
Yep.
So, yeah. Commissioner Patterson?
And so me, specifically, or speaking for myself, smaller class size is very important, to, teachers within the classroom. It's more controllable. And so when we talk about adding to the cohorts, I don't think that's such a good idea. I think we have to offer something different in the district. We have to compete against charter schools, urban suburban programs, and private schools. And we have to start offering something different, in our district. And I always speak of SOTA, because it's like the gifted people that I think about. And there's other programs too within the district, but I just can't think of them right now. What's it called? The School of Inquiry. That might be a little different, but, and one of the Wilson schools that have the baccalaureate degree.
Oh, Rochester, IB with, and also Rochester Early College.
Okay, thank you, for adding that. So we do have to offer, we have to learn to compete, in the district and offer things that parents are really excited about. And so for me, the last thing I want to see is East with so many students that we're adding there that it becomes not controllable anymore, that teachers aren't able to give that independent teaching and learning to each individual child. So yeah, we'd love for all schools to be great within the district, and hopefully we're working toward that, as a board. But realistically speaking, we can't experiment with something that's been working. And so therefore, that's why I ask that we really think this thing through. We really have conversations relative to what we should do with East and how we transition students back in there. Do we have an interview process, that, you have to interview to go to East, to make sure that you're there for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons, that you're going to have that parental support, that they're going to be there, that they're going to attend functions, and maybe sign something that, I don't know what East does right now, but we have to make sure that we maintain that parental involvement. Because as we know, without that, it's very difficult for a child. And in order for us to be successful, in order for that child to be successful, he needs that parental support. So I tread lightly on, what we do at East as far as transitioning back into the district. So thank you for the conversation and listening.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Thank you both for the East transition presentation. The next item of discussion from the agenda is the academic resolutions. Before we get to that, I just wanted to put on the record for Commissioner Griffin that she's absent due to a family emergency, so she wanted to make sure that I put that on record for her. That's the reason that she's absent. So I'm going to go to the resolutions, and I'm going to ask my colleagues if it's okay if we bundle. And if you notice, we have only 2 sections of resolutions, maybe 3 with the board. I see Commissioner Malloy doing a high five to herself. So if it's okay, we can bundle. You all okay, Commissioner Patterson?
Yeah, the only one I'm concerned with is 358. So other than that, we can bundle.
Yeah, you can ask questions on them, even if we bundle. Okay, all right. So can I get a motion for resolutions 332 through 342?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 332 through 342?
Yes.
Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, thank you. Do you want me to do one resolution at a time, just within that bundle?
Yes, within
all
the
at
bundle.
once? Or
Yeah, you can.
Okay, thank you. So for resolution 333, I was just intrigued by the Roots program. It's a social emotional program that looks like it's offered at School 33. And this might be a question more for the question log down the road, but I was wondering if there were plans to expand this program to other schools, if that's in the work, or does this mirror similar programs at some of our other, elementary schools?
So if you look at the funding source, it's Title 1003 targeted. So that is their funding that they receive as a receivership school. And they have elected to use some of the funding to bring in Roots to offer the programming in their schools. But it is something that we can possibly look at and discuss during budget
Yeah,
discussions
I was
and
just thinking
such.
consistency across the
Absolutely.
district looks like a great program. So that was the first one. And then Resolution 335, is that part of what we're discussing?
It is.
Yeah, thank you. So this was just in terms of maybe streamlining the executive summaries. This is actually for East. I just noticed that there's a difference in the executive summaries for East High School and the resolutions that come before us versus the ones that we have from the district. And you know, that's not, obviously not a decision like that I make, but I find that the ones that are coming from RCSD have a lot more information included in them. And they're also geared towards, it seems, our academic goals that we have as a board. So all of those executive summaries have specific references to the board goals and to the academic plan for the district. It might be helpful just for me to see similar references within the executive summaries from East, because it's just formatted completely differently. It might be nice to see that more streamlined. If possible, it would make it easier to understand what is being accomplished.
Any other questions, Commissioner Malloy?
Are we on 359 yet, or is that not included? Okay, that's it for
All
now.
right,
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments related to resolutions 332 through 342? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is there a motion for resolutions 343 through 365?
Motion.
Second.
Who made the motion? Motion by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by Commissioner Malloy. Any questions or comments related to resolutions 343 through 365? Commissioner Malloy?
This is more just a general question. It's for, I'm using 359 and 361 just as the example, but it could apply to any number of resolutions that come before us. I'm wondering, is grant-funded, and forgive my ignorance on this, but grant-funded contracts, are they exempt from RFP processes? Or are any of these contracts required to go through the RFP process?
I'm going to defer the question to Deputy Superintendent Turner.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, thank you.
Is your question in reference to this particular or just a general question?
Well, it was inspired by 359, 360, and 361, those three.
So
But we have many types of resolutions like this that come before us, and so I was just wondering if, I know that there are some resolutions that when they come before us, there are exemptions given for if something is under $35,000. Where I'm going with this is that I'm wondering how many contracts do we have with individual vendors? Do they total under $35,000, or do we have multiple contracts with the same vendors doing similar services that put them over that $35,000 threshold? And this is probably for the question log, obviously. I realize I'm just starting to look into that as we move
this
forward.
particular vendor, we do have another contract that would take us over the threshold. So if we're in partnership writing a grant and that vendor is named in the purpose of the grant, then oftentimes we don't have to go to our RFP because we're partnered for that service and is written in the grant. So it all depends. So if you want a more direct question, I'd be more than happy if you put in a board log, and we
Absolutely.
can give you a more
Yeah,
direct
I'm just
question
starting to
depending.
notice more and more just of these types of things, and I think it might be great for just board education in general and might alleviate other questions that don't apply, right? But thank you for that
And
response.
sometimes a service is a sole source. They're the only ones that provide that particular service or in that particular language. I'm not saying in this situation. And so there's different situations where it may not just be a direct requirement to have to go through an RFP. But like as I said, if we write specifically which ones, we'll be more than happy to look that up and provide an explanation.
And is there a way that commissioners could, at some point, sort of see like grand totals that are being spent, per, vendor? I know we've got hundreds and hundreds of people, and obviously don't want to create more work for anyone in that process. It's not something that has to be done right away, but it would just be good educationally for myself and maybe other board members. So thank you.
Responsible also.
All right. Any other questions? All right, I have a couple of questions. With regard to Resolution 344, tell me, I wasn't able to follow the amendment for this resolution, which was 734, but we're being asked to amend it. So what I'm looking at is the probation dates have changed. So can you give a reason as to why those probationary dates were changed for Resolution 344? I wasn't able to follow that well.
Sure. So what this amendment revolves around is an educator who was laid off and then was eligible to return from the preferred eligibility list. And because they had a change in date of their originally board-approved start date, that then changed their probationary dates, and we needed to update the records accurately for that purpose.
And that's because he returned from the preferred eligibility.
Returned, but then when we originally returned him, he was going to start on a different date. We corrected the start date, but we needed to also then correct the probationary period for tenure.
All right, thank you. And then Resolution 355, I always have an issue about having and being asked to approve a resolution without all the information that we need to have. So I don't know if it's you, Superintendent or General Counsel, that can tell me why why are we being asked to consider approving this when we still have, insurance information, contracts have not been signed. Can you explain that again? Or, I don't see Jacob here, so.
Deputy Turner, this is the one on James, number 33? Yes.
So, liability insurance, forms of contract, we've done it before, but I just want to be reminded why we're asked to do this before all of the different documentation is in place. Plus it's more than $1 million in contract.
I don't want to speak for the chief of operations, but the last resolved clause says authorized to enter after the forms of contract and liability insurance have been approved by council to the district. So I mean, typically from a contracting standpoint, because sometimes the process can take a long time. There's a lot of negotiations. There's a back and forth. You get things going, but it's not finalized, right? And the district always has, in some instances, the ability to, potentially, pull back, terminate, if, the I's not dotted, the T's are crossed, right? And so it is, this reads to me like just like a contingency. I'm sure that Chief Scott can provide some further clarification in the, question log.
All right, thank you. And then there's one other that I had. I think it's labor wrong. There's a resolution, an ADP resolution. I'm not sure.
Oh, yes.
I think I don't know if I've got it down as
357.
Oh, it's
357.
357, okay. So my question with regard to this resolution, if we're being asked to approve this, will this result in reduction of staff if we enter into agreement with this vendor?
So it's my understanding that the new Oracle upgrades will actually incorporate the ADP software for payroll. Eventually, we will get to hopefully we will get to a reduction in staff, but as of right now, and it's an intermediary as of As of right now, it won't be a reduction.
So are you saying that parts of Oracle is working, when does this take effect? For July 2025? Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? Commissioner Santiago?
Okay.
I just want to give a shout out for resolutions 359 to 364. New programs and some existing programs that will be coming into the district, including like parent workshops, family workshops, student empowerment. I just want to say it's great to see these on the block, and hopefully that it will be shared to as many parents and students as possible on these programs that will be coming along.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Patterson, did you have any questions?
Yes, they were relative to 358, 359, and 361, but some have already been answered, asked and answered. But more specifically relative to, at this point in time, 358, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So I know council is going to respond to this. But my question is here, this is relative to window energy services. And it deals with energy performance contract, the lighting, for example, upgrading and things like that. My issue is at this point in time, even though I initially back in May of 2023 also voted for this, questions arise right now for me relative to the cost at this point in time. So if we're talking, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the original scope was, project cost was 8.9 million. Now we're up to 14.5 million. Number one, back in May of 2023, did we okay the additional amended scope? Number one. But number two, and more directly, even though we entered into this contract, is there any way of backing out of the contract at this point in time? Because I can't see personally utilizing, even though it's coming from our general fund and we have the monies there, could these monies be better used in other areas, for example, for more counselors or more psychologists or more social workers for our kids that are students that are dealing with so many
Various needs.
things in their lives, so could it be better utilized at this point in time? So not that I understand the cost savings and, as one of our colleagues indicated that, even though these monies may be returned to us by the federal government, well, next year is the federal government going to be able to, provide us back that money that we spent? We don't know. So again, we know the money's in the general funds. It makes sense, to pay it out. But for me, could those monies be better spent at this point in time? And is there any way of voiding that contract at this point in time?
Thank you, Commissioner. I can answer two of those things, and I cannot answer the third. The first is as it pertains to approval built into this resolution or stated in this resolution. The board originally approved the agreement on June 23rd, 2022, and did approve the amendment, the expansion on May 25th, 2023, for the increase in amount. As it pertains to termination of any contract, I mean, that is dependent on a couple of things, right? So for example, like performance, again, this resolution pertains to the financing of the contract. The contract is executed. I don't have it in front of me. Termination of any agreement depends on the details and the specifics of that agreement, and it could depend on if there's been performance under the agreement already. If there's already been performance on the agreement, then potentially a party is already responsible for payment of certain amounts under that agreement. I'm not saying that's specific here. I can look at the actual agreement and provide some follow-up via the question log. Whether or not the appropriate expenditures for the district, that's a purview of the board and superintendent. So that is not a question for your general counsel to answer.
Okay, so you talk about performance, and do you mean by performance that work's already been done?
Right, exactly.
All right, so and just a question, because I don't know. How does work begin when the board has not executed it? It says here, our agreement shall not be executory until it receives the approval of the Commissioner of Education. So if it hasn't been approved, even by the Commissioner of Education, it says here, let alone the
My
board.
understanding, it has already been approved.
Oh, it has?
You're right. That is my understanding. It was already communicated to the state, and there was already approval.
Okay.
Yep. And so the contract itself, again, I don't have it in front of me, but I know it was already executed because, again, we're talking well over a year. We move, I would hope, since June 2022, we've already done some work on it, and I know we have executed it. My understanding is there was already state approval, but again, I will defer, to the contract originators, specifics on that, and but as pertains to whether what the district feels is best use of the funds, that's the purview of the board and the superintendent.
All right, so thank you for your response. Again, I'll wait for that reply from you, relative to the contract, whether or not we can void it or not, before I'll be able to vote on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Superintendent, you wanted to respond?
Yes,
to the previous question.
thank you, President Elliott. Just to go back to ADP, to be more specific in terms of payroll, we're actually talking about them supporting us in our tax information.
Okay.
So with wage garnishments, wages, garnishments, W-2s, so on and so forth, that'll be the organization that takes care of that for us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Malloy?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to make a brief comment for the community more than anything else regarding the Wendell Energy. Is that 350? I can't see in front of here. Was that 358? Correct. What we're voting on, obviously, is just whether or not we're paying cash for this and then getting reimbursed by the state versus whether or not we're financing this project, which we all approved, as well as approved the amendment for the increase in the amount. We approved that unanimously as well as a board. So do we pay cash and get reimbursed? We have the cash on hand, or do we finance this and then incur $4 million in additional costs because of interest payments? And so that is really, I want to make sure that the public is aware of what we're actually voting on when we're voting on this resolution this evening. So that is what is in front of the board, not whether or not we should void a contract, but on something that we've already approved twice and then amended. We have a contract in place and we're at the financing part of this contract. So that's the question on the table. Do we pay cash for it and then get reimbursed by the state? Or do we finance it and end up paying $4 million more in interest payments?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Simmons, you have a
Yeah, just for my clarity, again, the unanimous approval that took place was in 2022, correct?
For the original resolution, yes, and then it was amended in 2023.
And in 2023, it was unanimously amended.
I can't say whether it was unanimously. I can't see that in my notes here, but it was approved. But I can't say whether it was
But it was
unanimous.
approved on both dates. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Santiago?
Yeah, just for clarity, I wasn't on the board when this was approved, so the whole board didn't do it. I wasn't here. But I just want to say that it will be the most fiscally responsible thing to do, and I plan to vote yes on this. Although I didn't vote yes back in 2023 and 2022.
All right, so all those in favor of resolutions 343 through 365?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Are you opposing all of them, or are you opposing one specific? 48?
358.
358. So, Rahima, did you capture that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All those in favor, did we say that?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we're down now to Board of Education Legal and Audit Resolutions, amendments to policy 1120. I'm going to ask either the General Counsel to talk a little bit about that particular resolution, or
I can speak to it first. So in October, well, let me back up. We receive quarterly installments from NISBA that contains policy updates, which list required or recommended policy adoptions, amendments, and rescissions. On October 31st, we received our installment, and in there was Policy 1120. As a requirement to some legal changes, there had to be, which required, the board to adopt a policy specifically to speak to this, is around FOIL. And so when individuals FOIL information related to disciplinary records, which you'll see highlighted in the yellow on your clean copy, the district will now be required to provide notifications in certain instances. So this policy we already had on the books and existed. It just did not contain this portion that has since been updated by public officers law. And so then I'll let general counsel add anything.
Clerk Quinn is absolutely correct. This is a law that's already in effect. Once the governor signed it, it went into effect immediately. Again, as the board knows and the public knows, we typically have a cycle, and these go through a couple of readings. But when something is law immediately and says act, then I recommend that be expedited to the board, and that's why it's coming to the board on this expedited timeline, because it says you need a policy on it, and if the district does not have a policy on it, then we're out of compliance.
Any questions related to Resolution 336? Hearing none, all those in favor?
It's 66.
Did I say, what did I
You
say?
said 36, I believe.
Oh, 366, my apologies. All those, Commissioner Malloy?
Yeah, I think originally it just might be helpful moving forward for these types of policy changes if we can get the actual update from the state sent to us at the same time as the proposed changes or the track changes. That might help alleviate certain questions that might potentially be asked in the future. Thank you.
I just want to make sure commissioners are aware that typically you do receive that installment and it comes in a policy meeting. Those are the updates that general counsel provides, and they're generally also available to you via board docs, which is where NISBA provides those policy updates.
Right, and our next policy meeting is December 3rd.
It's December 3rd,
So,
correct.
Yeah, so if we have to vote on something in advance, whatever documents come out at the same time, no shade on anyone. It's just, it would be helpful for commissioners. It alleviates potential questions.
But they also have the references at the bottom of the
Right.
policy as well. So-
Right.
And I think what the board clerk is saying is it is available to commissioners via board docs at the same time that I receive. So
Right.
we all get it at the same time.
Yeah, but when we're given the email about the update that's coming at the meeting and we're giving the 48-hour notice and then we receive those materials, it is helpful to have everything in one place so that we don't have to search through board docs. Obviously, it is available on board docs to search for it.
All right,
Thank you.
Any other questions related to Resolution 366? All those in favor?
Aye.
And I'm voting no on this one. All right. I'm asking for a motion to go into executive session to discuss
President
matters.
Elliott, excuse me.
matters- I'm
You have
sorry.
Resolution 367 for claims settlement.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion for Resolution 367?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Simmons, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. Any questions or comments related to Resolution 367? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Is there a motion? Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
President
For
Elliott.
us to go into not yet?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
you skipped the new business section. So first, a whole section.
hold up.
First for new business is Commissioner's professional development reports,
yes.
and then a couple
My
other things.
bad. It's way down. Way down, you're right, right. All right. So the commissioner,
Yep, so Commissioner Santiago attended the CUBE convention or conference, and then you already spoke to the Big Five annual meeting.
Yeah, so my report from the CUBE conference, the 2024 CUBE conference, which is hosted by the National School Board Association, was a conference that I was able to learn how to make things happen in my role and in my capacity as a commissioner, of course, with the favor of the board. Went through many sessions, many separate sessions at the CUBE conference where we were able to focus on how to get things done through policy, through budgeting, and also through different goal makings and functions of the board. And so overall, the CUBE conference was an amazing opportunity for me to learn about my role as a commissioner, certainly in my first year of the role, and how to be better in it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports that I'm missing under new business that I didn't talk about?
Yes, Dr. Joseph will be joining us momentarily to provide the HYA update on the superintendent leadership.
All right. Should we wait on him or go to the committee diet?
Hold on one second. Let me just see if he's on Teams already. Yeah, we might want to go to committee diet.
All right. So this is, I'm going to have Rahima to speak to this.
So, yes, Commissioners, if you recall, on October 28th, you all met with Dr. Ray Hart from CGCS to discuss the committee diet, which you all had agreed to do earlier in the student-focused outcome governance process. As a result of that, you all discussed sunsetting several committees, which included CIGR, Finance, and HC. And then you talked about your policy committee as well as ESA and making some modifications and looking to potentially sunset those committees. As a result of that, I provided everyone with a draft recommendation for how board meetings could look moving forward meaning effective January. There was consultation with our state monitor, with cabinet, and with the CGCS coaches related to this. And so this here document that you all are viewing now and have received via email and is also posted to board docs shows you what would happen in meetings. So the recommendation at this time is that you have one work session on the second week of the month, which is currently where you have ESA in your special meeting, and then follow that up with your business meeting on the fourth Thursday. Be clear that the items that are currently listed within each meeting are just pulled over from each committee's agendas for this year. So these are not items that you necessarily have to keep, but it was to give you a visual representation of all the things that you all have been doing and receiving information on over the course of the year. That final column is written reports, and as you know, like in ESA and a couple other meetings, at times there are written reports attached to board docs, so you don't receive presentations. And so some of the prior committees, such as HC, for instance, the presentation that you typically receive there has been suggested to be moved as a written report. And so this recommendation, I also want to be clear, does not include the audit committee because that is your legally required committee and will still convene in December and June. And then at a minimum, I would recommend that the board revisit this calendar after you do the policy diet and then after you have the agenda diet conversation with CGCS. And so this, again, this document is to serve as a starting point for your conversation around how you want board meetings to look moving forward after January.
Any questions about the calendar for 2025?
If I could just one last thing remind commissioners that you all are slated to make a final decision around this in your December 19th meeting so that you're clear about what's happening moving forward. And so it will be on this agenda, it will be on your special meeting agenda on December 10th, and then finally for a vote on December 19th.
All right, well, no questions now, thank you. Maybe there'll be questions on December 10th? All right.
Or any in between time, if you please email so that those recommendations can be reflected in your discussion on December 10th. That would be great.
All right, thank you. So we'll go to the superintendent leadership profile. See.
I'm waiting for Dr. Joseph to join us. He is, just so everyone is aware, he is currently out of state at another conflicting meeting, and so he has texted and he'll be joining momentarily.
How much longer?
Momentarily. Yeah.
Okay, momentarily. Okay, all right. So what, can we take a break right now? And if it don't mind, we'll take about a 5-minute break or so. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need a motion for that? Motion to take a 5-minute break, brief reset, 5-minute reset? All those,
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are returning from our recess, and I understand we have Dr. Joseph, who's now with us to report on the leadership profile. Dr. Joseph, and welcome.
Good evening, Commissioner and board members and community. Welcome. Thank you for having me to share the leadership profile that was created for the Rochester City School District. Just a review of the feedback, we shared a draft profile with the Rochester community on November 13th, and then the board published the profile on your website to gain feedback. We did not receive any feedback, so the assumption is the people who received the report felt that it was accurate and reflected what was completed. So thank you for taking the time to gather that feedback from the community. Just reviewing how we got here, Hazard Young and Associates collected data from multiple sources to develop the leadership profile, and we arrived at a set of desired characteristics for the recruitment and selection of the next superintendent of Rochester City Public Schools. We looked at your strategic plan. We interviewed all board members, had individual meetings with key leaders in the community. Then we facilitated focus groups. And then looked over meeting notes and then gathered the stakeholder survey. And all of those data sources resulted in the report that I'm about to share. In terms of the focus groups, we structured focus groups that were open, allowing for participants to build upon each other's comments. Participants were asked to respond to the following questions. What do stakeholders value regarding the schools? What strengths do they desire to retain and build upon? What are the issues the district currently faces and will face in the next 3 years? And what are the personal and professional characteristics that are expected in the next superintendent? And again, if participants wanted to share additional information, we allowed them to share whatever they thought was important to share with us as we developed the leadership profile. We had 26 focus groups for constituents to provide input, representing a comprehensive network of constituents and partners of the Rochester City School District. So as you can see on the screen, there were a multitude of groups, and we thank the community for coming out and providing input into this important process. So we thank you for identifying the community groups that we could engage with. We had really meaningful, engaging dialogue with your wonderful community. In addition, the community online survey was live from September 27th of this year through November 4th. Questions were clustered around the current state of the district, the leadership profile, attributes, and priorities that the community thought were important for the future of the district. And we had 1,020 people take the survey. The majority of individuals who took the survey were teachers, where you had a total of 31% of the total participants were teachers, 21.4% were employees, 10% were students, 22.5% of survey takers were parents, and 7.9% were administrators, and 7.1% were community members. So there was a good representation of a multitude of stakeholders who took the survey. The priorities for the future section of the survey illustrated the common desires of respondent groups, and there were two top priorities that emerged. Number one, foster a positive professional climate of mutual trust and respect. 47% of faculty, staff, and administrators felt that that was a top priority. And the second was to recruit, employ, and retain effective personnel through Rochester City School District and its schools. Additional consensus is seen for the following priorities that were in the survey. Participants wanted someone who would establish a culture of high expectations for all students and personnel. provide transparent communications, understand and be sensitive to the needs of a diverse student population, and effectively plan and manage the long-term financial health of Rochester City School District. So Hazard Young and Associates triangulated the data from all of the sources that we collected to arrive at a set of desired characteristics for the recruitment and selection of the next superintendent of Rochester City School District. There are times when there are conflicting, contrasting, or inconsistent desires reported, and that's normal when you have a large community with different groups. But we look for the common themes that emerge that are important to most constituents. And we work to ensure where we saw consensus, that's where it came to be a priority. So when we look at all of the data that received, there emerged 5 characteristics for the next superintendent. First, that there be a commitment to equity and academic excellence. Next, that the person had strong financial acumen. Third, constituents shared that they wanted experience in urban settings as well as experience managing systemic change. Fourth, they were looking for a collaborative leader and an effective communicator. And fifth, that there would be a commitment to the city of Rochester. So just to take a moment to elaborate on some of those points, with you being one of the largest, most diverse school districts in New York State, all constituent groups expressed the need to improve academic performance of students within the school district as a top priority. They shared that the next superintendent has to set high academic standards, particularly for literacy, math, and graduation. And it was communicated that we needed support in more personalized learning for students. There was an acknowledgement that there's work to do, particularly when you look at the average achievement amongst different student groups. And the next superintendent would need to understand how to support culturally responsive teaching in an environment with a diverse group of students. In addition, it'd be important for the next superintendent to implement data-driven approaches to monitor and allocate resources equitably across schools to ensure that all students had access to a high quality education. And it was important to note that teachers expressed the need for someone who would work with them, come and assess what was working in the district and identify how to do a few things better, but looking at what works within the school district. As it relates to financial acumen, it was noted that in recent years your finances have stabilized, but you continue to face significant financial management challenges, and community members and board members highlighted the need for strong financial stewardship and budget transparency. It was communicated that the Rochester community wants transparency in your school district, and the board members and the new superintendent needed to continue to about the budget in an open and transparent way to ensure that dollars are being used effectively and wisely. And there was also comments about there was a need for strategic resource allocation to optimize student support services and address your school facilities challenges. And there was also a desire to work collaboratively with your local government because you have limited resources, and advocate at the local and state level to prioritize the modernization of buildings and ensure students and staff are in a clean, safe learning environment. As it related to experience in an urban setting and systemic change, while there were a few people who said that, you just want a superintendent with strong experience, particularly moving student achievement. The majority of focus group members and board members communicated someone with strong urban experience would be preferred. Although it wouldn't be a deal breaker if someone had proven leadership somewhere else. The overall desire, though, was finding someone with large urban experience, and someone who would come in and see the district from with the assets, not coming in with a deficit mindset, and could really work to build upon community strengths within the district. There was an acknowledgement that the district has challenges that we see in many urban districts across the country as it relates to being able to right size the district, ensuring that there's thoughtful configuration, reflecting upon community needs, and working to recruit high quality, a high quality, diverse workforce. And then you were looking for a collaborative leader who would be an effective communicator. It was acknowledged that the Rochester School District is complex, and so someone who's able to build coalitions, work collaboratively with different community groups would be a strength, and someone who could effectively communicate and build relationships and would have both the confidence and emotional intelligence to adapt and with all within community in a respectful way. And finally, I think what really resonated clear Rochester is that there's a desire for stability. So the next superintendent would to express and commit to a desire to stay in the city of Rochester, but not just stay there, work to be an active community member, working to work with the community and pushing through difficult times. Be a superintendent who'd be willing to establish strong communication protocols, commit to student outcomes-based governance, and be willing to see improvement efforts through as you have a new strategic plan, working to execute on that plan and the board's goals and guardrails that have been developed. And it was shared that the superintendent did not need to be from New York, but there was a commitment to being an active and engaged member within the Rochester community, willing to learn and appreciate all aspects of living within the Rochester community. And then when you looked at the strategic priorities, what came out between the survey and the focus group were, again, someone who would focus on academic improvement, someone who was aware and strong with cultural responsiveness and fostering culturally responsive teaching and welcoming environments within the district, recognizing that you have a multilingual and multicultural community. Someone who would strengthen operational stability, addressing structural challenges, including outdated technology, enrollment declines, and inefficient systems to enhance school functionality and efficiency, and someone committed to community partnership, engaging with your local government, health organizations, and community services to support the holistic needs of families. The next steps, we would ask that the board officially approve this leadership profile, and we will attach it formally to the job posting and send it to individuals to be recruited. And in terms of the job would close on December 15th. And then we would vet candidates based upon the profile that would be approved. And then by January 14th, we would have a seminar for interviews in the final stages of the search process. And we'd be able to present a slate to the board for the board to identify candidates to be interviewed. Then by somewhere around January 25th, we could have initial interviews. And then somewhere in February, and we would lock down on that date, I know we were still working to lock in, somewhere in February, we would have the semifinalist interviews. And then within a few days after the semifinalist interviews, we would know who that finalist would be. So that way, by the end of February, early March, you would have, at least a preferred candidate to, move forward in the process. I could stop here and take any questions that the board may have.
Do we want to take questions now, or should we vote on it and then open it up, make a motion for it, and then open it up for questions? And I'm looking at the general counsel for this. Which should go first?
You can make the motion and then ask the questions and then either vote to approve or not. So
Right,
it's really
okay.
the board's purview. Yep.
All right. So is there a motion to accept the recommendation for the leadership profile report?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by Commissioner Santiago. Now is the time to ask questions, so I'll start with Commissioner Malloy.
No questions at this time. I'm really pleased with the report, and I'm glad that so many members of our community were able to take part in this, but no questions at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Simmons?
Thank you, President Elliott. None at this time. No questions.
All right, Commissioner Santiago.
No questions, just glad to see the feedback from the community put into the leadership profile and ready for the process.
Commissioner Patterson. Thank you, Commissioner Santiago.
Yes, I just have some statements to make. Let me go back to the screen. Let's see, it was, I think, 10, where it talks about, let's see here, experience in urban education and systematic change, desired characteristics.
Yes.
So some of the things, I just took some notes here. Some things, I'd be looking for, and maybe that weren't mentioned yet. I always discuss reimagining a different way of teaching and learning, and it talks about systematic change here. So for me, it's very important that whoever we bring in, has a different mindset when it comes to teaching and learning. As we know, today's students are raised in a more technical setting, and I would hope they'd have some skill in that area because kids don't learn the same way that we learned when we were coming through school. They want to learn a different way. They almost want to teach themselves. I'm getting ahead of myself in my notes here, but more inclusive learning environment. I put down, for example, esports, where it ties into math, science, and English. There's a lot of jobs in esports and things like that. A more technical setting for those individuals that are involved in sports, for example. Again, students are used to immediate responses today, opposed to the way and form of instruction that we're used to. So I would hope that the individual would have knowledge of this, that they're just learning differently than us, and they want to learn differently than us. Students teaching students, I mentioned, let's see, teacher is more of a moderator than a facilitator. So again, I'm just going from my notes, but, and again, some of these things are, what I learned from conferences and things like that, how to re-energize kids into learning, especially after COVID. BOCES does a good job of incorporating math, science, and English into their curricula, into their lesson plans. So maybe there's a way for us to do that when they have a specialty in a certain area. For example, Edison, where we have a lot of the skills over there in career and technical education. So utilizing what they're doing over there and maybe incorporate that into the K through 12 setting. And let's see, I think that was my last note here. Nope, let's see. Special ed, I also wanted to, I had a good conversation with an individual from Strong doing a study last week. And that person indicated, had a lot of good ideas because they specialize in the area and they have a kid in the district. But more so, an idea came to me that I'm just going to pose. Not saying that anyone has to use it, but we had that conversation relative to individuals in special ed, sort of doing something like a BOCES, having a half day within the student population and a half day with the special education teachers and support staff. So half the day with the students, half the days going to their specialist in those areas. So just some of the things that, I've been thinking about, since our earlier conversations, that I hope the next superintendent will come in. Hopefully they're listening to this. And then maybe if they adopt one out of the several ideas that I just gave you, that's a win-win. But just trying to throw ideas out there, not that you have to accept them or they have to accept them, but I'm trying to think, what can we do differently? How can we reimagine a different way of teaching and learning, here, in the district that draws students back because there's something special. We're doing something special. We're doing something different. And we may be the first ones to do it, but we have to find a different way, to ignite these students in today's day and age into, learning.
Thank
Thank
you. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Just thank you for the work that you and your team did on this. It was very informative. A lot of people participated in the survey and the focus groups, and it just shows just how interested and how successful they want us to be in terms of identifying the next superintendent. And so it seems to me that they're with us and not against us. And so I just want to thank you so very much for doing this. And we certainly will be talking with you real soon. So all those in favor?
Oh, we've already approved it. We did
I-
already. We already voted.
Already voted? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So thank you, Dr. Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to continuing the process.
Absolutely. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Sorry about that, y'all.
It's
I messed up twice, didn't I?
You're good.
I'm doing good.
I thought we were done, but I guess we have
yeah,
more.
right,
Okay.
right. Yeah, doing good. So, but there's another, we got a motion to go into executive session. So, motion?
For the purpose of,
Oh, see, I just came back from a conference, so I'm gonna use that as an excuse. The board, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment status of specific individual or corporation, as well as matters that may be confidential by state or federal law with the general counsel?
So
Motion.
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will adjourn from downstairs. We want to thank the community for participating with us in this board session, and have a good night, and please have a wonderful Thanksgiving with you and your families. Good night.
Good night.